Welcome back, everybody. This is the Anime Association, and I'm your host, A1. And I am with my other teammates today from the Anime Association. Got my boy, Can You Talk? Kyle Tim times 10.
How you doing?
How y'all feeling today, though?
All good, all good. Ready to talk some Fire Force.
That's
Yes,
right. That's right.
sir.
That's right. This is episode 8, season 3. Let's go. Like, honestly, uh, last week stopped on a bit of a cliffhanger, right? This week we got some more information out of it. Now going in, we saw Habana. She found some more secret notes from the old school that she was at, and we got a surprise guest. We got the mother that we thought was dead. She's been gone. Now, starting of the episode, how did y'all feel when Habana approached the sister and everything that she was basically assuming was correct? I'll start with you, Tim.
What you mean, like the doppelgangers were made at the church?
Yeah.
Uh, actually, honestly, I was way off base at the end of last episode of what was going on. Not really way off base, but I don't know why I didn't think the bugs. They were eating the bugs. I thought they were doing like some Soylent Green type shit and the bugs. I really thought that they were eating the other kids or whatnot, like, and that's
Oh
kind of what
man.
it
Oh
was.
man.
That because that's just kind of like the vibe that it gave off, like
Yeah.
they were eating the people at the church
Yeah.
or whatnot. As far as, I mean, she Sister Sumire is just creepy. I don't care.
Facts,
She's
bro.
just creepy. If I'd met someone like that in real life, I would have been fucking crawling out of my skin to get away because she's just creepy as hell.
No, facts. Especially like the non-expression she has on her face, like that same simple expression. And then she's still trying to talk to Habana like she's a child, still like, oh, this is crazy. You're finding this stuff out. Oh man. Like this is like you, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like she act like nothing happened, like you haven't been gone, like you haven't died in front of us, type stuff. Like what's going on? Ganyu, how you felt though?
Listen, I hated that sister, man. It was just absolute, just horrific stuff. Especially just when Havana kind of found out, like in that moment where the stuff that she'd been putting in her mouth, as well as all the other kids and all the other people that she was growing up with, just happened. Just as soon as she pieced everything up together, like I was sick to my stomach because that was just horrible. And the way the sister was just kind of talking in that mellow tone and like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
it is what it is kind of thing. And then she kind of, and then when she brought out the others from
Oh
the
man.
darkness, that was just absolutely rough. So,
Yeah.
absolute, the best way I can probably describe, is the best way I can describe, especially that sister, and I probably won't say it in English, but that sister was a puta. That's what she was.
You gotta edit
So,
that out.
so now
But yeah,
my question is though, right? The shadows coming out, those are the doppelgangers
yeah, those
of the
were
kids, or were those the
yeah,
actual kids?
those were the actual kids that got turned to infernos, bro. All
Yeah.
that's why she look. This is why
So those
when
are the doppelgangers. Then they're just infernals
basically
that have the knowledge of the person they took over.
no, I think that's them, and they didn't turn all the way like she thought they was gonna do. Like, but she just kept them there with her.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the
That's some
crazy
crazy
part.
stuff.
Yeah, like
This is like border. This is like tiptoeing on like the horror side
yeah.
of the genre.
But that's the thing. Like, that's what I loved about this episode because it showed the levels of the writing in this story, bro. Like, you go from comedy, which is what some of the episode was somewhat. Uh, you go from serious to comedy type stuff, and it all fits in like that right there. For me, was super creepy, especially when we find out what her powers really are, though. Like,
Oh yeah.
she's literally, she says she's vibrating because she's so cold. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, what? To the point to the point where when they try to attack her, she's vibrating so much, she basically vibrate their clothes off. You know what I'm saying? She can use it as a defense or offense, they said. Now, when y'all first saw that right there, like, what was your first reaction? Do you think somebody was going to die down there? I saw what you gave you.
I was absolutely convinced someone was going to die out there. I thought one of the two lads that Hibana was with. I thought, especially the bit where prior to them going to where Hibana kind of grew up was the whole monologue about how um, Burns had kind of left the responsibility to them and all of that stuff. That kind of set the flame up a little bit in my mind that either one of them was going to die or both of them are going to die because something they're going to go find something and that's going to be it. But yeah, it was. I was surprised that nobody died, but because it really did indicate, it did from all angles, it really did show that someone was either going to get absolutely seriously hurt or was going to become absolutely kaput. But none of that happened. So I'm quite surprised about that. Slightly disappointed because I think it would have been very dramatic for one of the two boys to be kaput, especially after what happened to Burns.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
expecting one of them to die as well, honestly. Maybe the guy with the trumpet, just because of how more intense that interaction was. Because at first first of all, she moves mad quick because she got to the other dude like it was nothing and
Bro,
knocked
what?
him into the bookshelf. So that's why when she went over to the other guy with the trumpet and all she did was touch the trumpet and just exploded it. I was like, oh, he's about to die. And that's the guy with
Yeah.
the ice powers that did that. So I was like, oh, he's about to die. It would make sense for him about to die as well because of how, like how much of a counter he is to the Adola and the fires
Mm-hmm.
and all that stuff. Her actual power, though, of like vibrating, like it's like more friction based type of thing. And the one thing I am enjoying about this part of the story is we're getting more we're getting more than just fire powers, right? We've seen electric powers, we've
Yes.
seen magnetism. Now and we seen ice in the last season, but now we're getting stuff like vibration based and friction based
Yeah.
stuff, and that
Yeah.
also had me thinking like, I wonder if she's actually already dead, and that's why she's saying she's always cold. So that's why she can vibrate even more, is because she's already
Yeah.
dead, with especially learning how old she is during this
Mm-hmm.
episode.
That's something that me and an Addict had discussed probably like a week ago. We was trying to figure out like, yo, is she a doppelganger? Like, I got a feeling she is, but it
Well,
really
not we
answered
found
the
out she
question.
was a
Yeah, yeah,
pillar.
yeah. That's what I was about to say. Like, but you know what I'm saying? Like when the woman in black came, and basically I felt like that was a distraction so Hobana and them can get away, which it technically was though. Like,
Do we know who that is though? That's the first time we've
yeah.
seen the lady in black, right?
No, I think we saw her in season 2. She when Shinra had made a Dola burst, or it probably was the end of season 1. I think she was in,
Okay.
and she helped Shinra with something. I can't remember, but this is not our first time seeing her. But I
Okay.
think this is gonna be our last time seeing her though, because you heard what she said. I used my last bit of energy to come and ask you something, basically. But I think it was just her trying to distract them. But now that we find out that she was actually there before the first cataclysm, and she said that the first cataclysm was not a success at all, and
Yep.
that whole thing went without any combustions at all. And this time around, she made sure that the pillars were for this. And then she had a remark as she was walking off. She said, "Well, I guess I have to be the eighth pillar." So, did we talk about this before when I asked like how many pillars it is though? Like all together, we know it's five that was present, but is it eight?
I
Well,
think I
she
think it
said she
was
was.
alluded to eight. It was alluded to eight.
Yeah, I think it was alluded to 8, and I thought she said she was the seventh pillar.
The seventh?
Yeah,
Well,
I think
I
she
think
said she was the seventh pillar. But
Back
she
then
had
though.
been a pillar.
Yeah,
Not
I
like
think
she's still considered a pillar. Like even now, she's
yeah.
still a pillar.
But I think as she was walking off, she said, "Well, I guess I got to become the eighth pillar." I think
because yeah,
Burns became the seventh pillar. I think I'm
I
thinking
don't
that.
know because I think somewhere in the episode when they were fighting the White Clad, I think there was a moment when is it Hayumi, the girl with the golden crown? She listed a number of people
Yeah,
who were the
yeah.
pillars and said we were all here together. That was more than five people. I think it is alluded to being eight pillars in total.
Now, do you think she was counting like Benny Maru and Joker? Because they definitely
Uh
got a Adola link.
I don't remember all the names. I don't. I think it was just a couple. It was just all the ones that we see her, Shinra's brother, um, the girl with the bombs that does that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think then they said a couple other people. So like I said, I think it is eight. I think it is eight because
So does that mean
there was definitely more
Sumire
than
was
five.
there? Was Sister Sumire there at the place when all that stuff was
He's
going on?
always there. I'm thinking Sister Sumere is the woman in black too. So I'm looking it up now. Yeah, that's just her trying to reach out. Like when she's in the woman in black, she's trying to basically reach out without no one noticing that she's reaching out type stuff. But her body is, you know what I'm saying, Amorosu, whatever that is, yeah. So Amoroso is the second pillar, I think, or is the first? I think. I think it's the first. Yeah, yeah. She's the first. She's the first pillar. But I think she's trying to stop everything or throw a loop into something. Honestly,
Well, she looks like Death
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
from Soul
Soul
Eater.
Eater.
She looks exactly like Death. Just of course, the face is different, but body wise, it is the same design as Death. So I wonder if those that will play some type of connection in the future. Which means if so, this isn't the last that we'll see of her. Because if there is some connection between her and Death, that means she's going to end up interacting with Shinra later on.
yeah. And that's what I'm saying. She did though. She did at the
Spoilers
beginning
on
of.
that. My bad.
Nah, but she did though at the beginning of the first season though.
It's
She
been a,
did.
it's been a while since I've watched the first season, but
Likewise.
Well, moving on to the next part, because it did do a big shift. Now, I called this too. I called this when Arthur first fought the dragon. I said he gonna go through a little depression stage though. But I like the character development in this because it showed how teammate was trying to just find ways to get him back motivated, basically. And I like the little treasure hunt they did for him and everything. But let me get y'all feeling on that. Like, did y'all think he was just gonna bounce back off of it, or did y'all think it'll be this easy for him to get back motivated? Start with you, Gen.
I thought. I mean, I was not surprised that he got back, into the game quick. I think it was just more. I expected, obviously, some downtime in terms of that little mini depression. Yeah, of course, but more so the depression that he lost. But after that, I said, like, good team squads and everything, trying to, Vulcan trying to get him in there, trying to tell him about this hunt, about getting the necessary metals for him to reforge his Excalibur, if you will,
Yeah.
and all of that stuff. So I think, I think it was just more that I was anticipating the depression of more so that he lost, but he'll be getting straight back into the game. So I'm happy for that, because he isn't a character that deserves to be moping moping around and being on the sidelines. So I'm happy that he jumped straight back into the action, eventually, if you will. So yeah.
What about you, Tom?
Honestly, I didn't think that the depression was going to take that long. Honestly, it felt, even though I know we talked about it before, and it just didn't feel like having a depression arc would make sense at this point in time.
Yeah.
Obviously, he did have some bit of a depression spell going on, and I'm glad we didn't it didn't go through like a whole episode of him moping around. Right, it got him right back up on his feet. I would say the one thing that caught me off guard was his conclusion of where to find the material went straight to the nether. So is this a way of us telling of is this foreshadowing that this fake material he's looking for is actually real, and they're actually going to find a way to go to the nether to get this material? That's what I'm starting to think, is that they're actually going to find a material or a sword, that like an actual legendary sword for him to wield, that he can, push his plasma through and everything. That's kind of where I'm leaning at with that little, I thought it was funny that it was like a video game and the NPC talk and everything.
That's hilarious.
But I think it is going to end up that this legendary material is going to end up being real, and he's going to get a real Excalibur, pretty much.
Yeah. And then on top of that, they even mentioned it right before we left from Habana. They mentioned another too.
Yeah.
So all roads lead to that.
Yeah, they did.
Like the nether, if I'm not correct, the nether is where the apostles at, right?
I think so. It's hell, isn't it? Isn't that what it is? Isn't it hell?
I think so. I'm about to look it up. But yeah. Well, they both basically left off on that. We're all heading to the nether. So with the spoilers coming up now, when they go to the nether, do you think they're gonna run into more white clad there? Or do you think they're gonna run into more like infernos? Like, I'm thinking they're probably gonna run into some more infernos. More or less, probably a couple of white clads.
I think we're going to run into a mixture of both of them, honestly. Yeah. And I think this is where we're going to see Burns again, but he's going to be in Infernal. I think we're going to end up fighting Burns again. Maybe not Shinra, because Shinra's already did that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they would double up on it, but I think we might get like a Benimaru and Joker versus an Infernal Burns type of ordeal. I think that's where the natural conclusion of those three is going to come to an end, is them fighting a doppelganger of Burns, because I feel like there's no reason for them to say like that's a doppelganger when Burns disappeared and went to the nether, for that not to come back around, especially with like all the stuff that Benimaru and Joker were talking about this episode.
Facts. They definitely will.
No, I like that. I like that. I think I think it is going to be a mix. I think it is going to be a mix of the white clad and the Infernals. It makes the most sense, especially since like that angle is in play. So you obviously want to get that little balance of, yes, the white clad are still doing what they're doing, but also like having the Infernals play a part, so we can actually really, really see, because especially when they've kind of talked about the whole combustion stuff, it is like all of this stuff is really interesting for them to not explore it and give us a bit more context on all of that stuff. So I'm anticipating a mixture of both groups being encountered.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that right there. Now,
because it's like the final raid. I feel like that's what entering the nether is going to be. It's going to end up being like the final raid, and then when they're in the middle of all that, that's when the evangelist is going to show up, and we're going to get. I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is like we're going to get to the Nether. Something's going to happen. End of the break, end of the season, and then core 2 is like evangelist stuff and all the like apostles and everything.
And then we gotta wait all the way to next year for that.
Oh, the second core doesn't drop till next year.
Yeah, bro.
Oh damn.
Bro.
I'm gonna end up reading it anyways. I already told myself I'm gonna.
That's what I did. Exactly what I did. Yeah, that one's not coming out until I think it's gonna be January 2026, bro. That's when it's gonna come out. Yeah, bro. So I think this season only gonna be 12 episodes, and then yeah, we gotta wait all the way to January. Like, I feel like that's in the way. I'm not gonna cap. Like, but they really are like moving towards like a big battle's coming or a big cliff. I feel like it's a big cliffhanger, which I know they're gonna do. I think that'll be their best bet to do is to leave us on a cliffhanger so we can, you know what I'm saying, be looking for something for that wait. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But overall, I give this episode, I say an 8 out of 10. What about you, Tim? What's your rating on it?
I'll give it a 7.5, 8. I'm comfortable with like a 7.5, 8. It was a good episode, but it was nothing that really blew me away for real. Too much. I feel like the second half slowed it down, even though it was necessary. The second half kind of really slowed it down, and kind of took away from the episode. Not too much, but I'd be, if I had to rate it, I'd give it like a 7.5, 8 and be comfortable right there.
Okay. About you, can you?
Yeah, same thing. I think I'll probably give it a 7. I'll probably say about a 7. If we were to give a ranking, I'll probably give it a 7. I was really interested in the first part of in the first part of the story itself with the Adola stuff and the sister and Habina and a few other things there. I think as it kind of moved into the second part, while it was nice, obviously seeing the stuff a little getting Vulcan and a couple of the others involved. It was nice, but I think the peakness of the episode was in the first half. So hopefully we get more of that, because there is obviously a lot more stuff to be explored. Obviously, as the episodes start to wind down now, we don't have time for fun and games. We need to be seeing where the story's going.
Understood. Well, all right, we're gonna wrap it up with that. This is the Anime Association. I've been your host. If you like the video, like, subscribe, share, leave your comments. Tell us what you think. If you got any questions, let us know. Once again, this is the Anime Association. Peace.